Hey,
I really didn't.
that's a different Zoom. That is a whole
And he
different
just
Zoom.
hit live too. Of course you
We
would drop
live.
me.
It's all guy. I said we going live. I gave you the warning.
Did you? Did you really give me the warning?
Got him.
Well, I'm glad
What's
I said
Yeah.
something inappropriate before we went live.
Like at the tip.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Technically Speaking. What's up, brother
What's go
Corey?
what's going on,
And then we
brother
we, we got a
Geronimo Tech
special
Van
guest.
Go?
I'm about to tag her. Let me see how this thing works. If it lets us do the tag. Something happened here. I'm not seeing the tag. What just happened?
Okay,
All
I'm
right.
not
Well,
sure.
You got it? You good? You got you tech guys good over there?
I don't think it's gonna be on a
I
tech.
had to do a shots fired on live. All the good
On
shots fired
live.
were off live. So
Oh,
Instagram froze up on me. We'll see if it comes back. I don't know what Instagram is doing. Um, they don't make this easy. Let's come on, Insta. Come
don't
on, let's
worry, I
go
got it.
now.
It's at right size underscore perspective, right?
yep,
I
Let
got you.
me see. Let me see.
appreciate you.
We still there. We good. Okay,
No
we
problem.
good. Did you tag her in it?
I'm writing it right now, sir. Not on
Okay.
Instagram, but under the
Oh, there we go. Boom. Okay, we just got the
yeah.
tag. Instagram just kind of went crazy on me. All right. Anyway, boom. All right. So we're back. Another
There we go.
episode. We haven't said her name yet, but we do have a special guest tonight. And tonight we're talking about AI and mental health. But first, let me properly introduce our guest. So, um, she is a therapeutic life consultant, licensed clinical social worker, clinical addiction, and a clinical addiction specialist. She's dedicated to helping people align their purpose
Yes.
and overcome mental health challenges through holistic approaches, right? You like holistic
Yeah,
approaches.
all natural.
She works with individuals to shift from survival mode to sustainable system of living, or we want to say maybe go from survival to thriving, right? She helps her clients address issues like ADHD, anxiety, depression, and substance use. She's a community servant, an entrepreneur, and just an all around good person. Please help me welcome my friend, Miss Sarah Wilder. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Welcome to welcome to Technically Speaking,
I know, is it appropriate
Sarah.
to clap for myself?
Hey,
That's
why not? Why
As
not?
you should. You are your own self. What is it called? Cheerleader. Yes, that's the word.
yes,
There you
yeah.
go. There you go. So I just want to give the background story on this. So Sarah and I, we go back when I was stationed in North Carolina, back when it was Fort Bragg. I guess now for rebranding it's Fort Liberty. So we've been friends ever since, and she was doing her thing back then. We stayed in contact. We talked about AI and mental health on Facebook. But it was so good. We were like, let's do it again. And this time we got brother Corey with us. So um real quick, I want to take the time to acknowledge and recognize it is Men's Mental Health Month.
Yes, it
So
is. Yes, it is.
shout out to all my
Yes.
fellas out there. We need ourselves to keep this mental health good and in check, right? So um
Yeah.
leading off of men's mental health, right, Sarah? I got a question for you
Okay.
about AI and mental health. Do you think that AI can help men kind of accept and go get more mental health? Because you know, us guys, we're not good with accepting the fact that we might need mental health. Do you think AI in some kind of way can help with that?
Mm. So I think it's definitely a possibility, but I'm be honest with you, it's probably more just streamlining the process of information. And that's if they
Mm.
know how, no shade to like men, because it's just no gender discrimination here, but like if you know how to use AI in efforts to get mental health resources. Um, I think it is something to come in the culture of mental health where clinicians start using AI themselves and
Mm.
to help like people feel more comfortable with therapy. That's something that I've definitely been considering and just learning and growing my knowledge of AI. But I'm honestly not really sure how it would help like initiate men specifically to get it, other than it would maybe just make it a little bit more I don't know, like attractive for some things, but really, you know, men reaching out, I think a lot of it has to do with the rapport. If you don't have a stable, open, vulnerable conversation, which not a lot men are just waiting to do. It's just a matter of like them having and meeting the person that they're able to do that with, and then the resources are there. The resources are. Now, I do like to say that some of it can be very confusing, which is why I put my brand out there to help clarify and, you know, put my consultation link pretty much out there. If people have questions and about getting help, I can give you those resources.
Nice. And what is the link? How can people get in touch with you? If
honestly, going to my website.
Some help.
My website is probably the easiest portal to that, just because it has all my socials linked there. You can send a message through the contact form when it comes to, you know, to my email, and, you know, tell me what it is that you are, you know, wanting to do, and I am able to give people the links directly to narrow down the search. But honestly, like, it's also going to Psychology Today or going through your insurance, if you have insurance, and kind of looking for someone who, like, hey, I could kind of talk to this person.
Yeah.
They look welcoming, but I have, like, some of my guy friends have asked, and if you need a personalized, like, recommendation and tell me about yourself, I'd be willing to help some people with that.
And what's that website that you have? What's your website so we can be able to let our viewers know?
Yes.
It is Sarah Wilder, lcsw.com.
And we'll put it, anyone else that's watching
Sarah Wilder.
You want me to put it in the comments, or?
Oh yeah, put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments. I'll go ahead and put it as a banner for a couple moments while we talk.
I'm not sure it's gonna let me join the chat.
All right.
And then we'll make sure it's in the description below for the folks that's watching this on YouTube. Oh yeah, definitely. So what I picked up on, Sarah, you were talking about.
Before we go there,
go ahead.
Because I want to do her right. Because of the fact that she's a guest, and when you have guests, you want to make sure the guests are taken care of very well. So I have Sarah www.SARA like your last name .com.
LCSW.com.
Oh, one of these letters.
Yep, the first four letters.
More letters in the alphabet.
Yeah, that's my alphabet soup. All it means is just, you know, I'm educated and I got to keep learning in order to keep my credentials.
There you go. So Sarah Wilder, LCSW. LCSW.com. Got you. We want to go ahead and add that to our banner, and we're going to show that like that.
There we go.
Boom. There you go. So again, especially for all my men, because it is Men's Mental Health Month, right? If you want some tips and need a consultation, hit her up. Get that help that we need.
Absolutely.
Awesome. But for you, Corey, this one's for you, right? Because Sarah kind of pointed out something as far as like just knowing the process of getting help and knowing how to find those resources. We are talking about AI, and you the man with all those prompts. I'm wondering if there's some prompts that you could throw out there that our fellow gentlemen can use to kind of steer them in the right direction to look for resources and processes, and maybe how to tap into the insurance to get all that going. What you got for me, brother?
Okay, so one thing is for certain, and two things is for sure. I am an advocate of therapy. I've been in therapy for my mental health for the last 4 to 5 years. Took a break because I had to switch therapists, but jumped back on it. And one of my recent therapists shared with me the emotional wheel. And the emotional wheel, which Sarah, you already know, that is a very helpful key for those who are struggling with, one, how to define how they feel. And number two, when they are doing therapy, because I do believe in therapy, but I also believe in doing therapy right. Some people go to therapy and stay surface. That's not how you handle therapy. You have to get into the areas where you're afraid to talk about, but then also keep on the side of your mindset that this is a safe place. So what I would recommend is go to the chat GPTs and then use this prompt. Generate me a wellness chart through the emotional wheel, allowing me to have a great start of a week. The
Ooh.
chat GPTs will
Ooh.
generate all that. And here's the thing. Um, it's I mean it's like watermelon. You chew the meat, you spit out the seeds. Get what you need, and whatever you don't. But
Ooh.
start somewhere because mental health is so important. I understand we're
Yes, it is.
like this month is primarily known for Pride Month, and nothing's wrong with that. But also, there's Men's Mental Health Month as well, and the most people who are struggling with mental health that is primarily that's non-vocal are men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
Yeah.
mean?
would
Because
Because
agree with
even
that.
yeah.
even men like sometimes we'll talk about the stuff that we're going through, but it's still surface level.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
until you get to the point where you can be able to find out childhood traumas, your triggers, things that you realize that you didn't know were you were dealing with, and then people have this thing about thinking that they are mentally the same age they are physically, and that's not true
Ooh.
because once a trauma occur and it hasn't been dealt with, that part of that trauma inside your life, you're stuck. So you could be at a 7-year old dealing I mean you could be a 40-year old dealing with a 7-year old trauma, like somebody stole your ball and never gave it back. So now you're going through life and you're at work and somebody take a pen of yours and you're blown up. Why? Because of that childhood
Mm.
trauma was just revisited, but in a different area in your life. And if you don't
Yeah.
take the time to walk that little 7-year old back to this 40-year old journey that you've been on, you're going to turn around and find out that you have issues that's under the surface.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
commend all the therapists out there.
Yeah. For
Sarah,
real.
I commend everything that you're doing. And the thing about it is these tools that we have can either build or break. Some people are using AI to build their financial wealth. That's great. Some people are using it to get their health chart for workouts things, and that's awesome too. But now we need to go ahead and use it for our mental health,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yup.
No,
and I believe it's there.
I really like how you answer that because when you asked me that question, Geronimo, I was like, I'm still learning AI myself, and like using and generating prompts sometimes is very difficult even for me because I may be good at what I do with other people. I'm like, I can do that. Coming back into my own world of being an entrepreneur, trying to build my business, trying to streamline my processes, I have to be very careful of like my mental wellness and emotional wellness because asking ChatGPT to do something gives me anxiety. I don't always know how to ask the best questions
Good
when I'm
point.
mentally drained, when my mental like at the end of a long day. So, you know, how you contributed to that, Corey, was really great because being able to ask questions is a key, and being curious about like, wait, what can ChatGPT do for me? And, you know, even as a mental health professional, there are some things that ChatGPT won't be able to do, but there are also like a lot of just so what working with addictions and my addictions background really kind of means is yes, I know a lot about addiction, but I work with people who have a lot of those deep rooted traumas who cope with substances and or process addiction. So that's gambling, food, sex, all that stuff. And really going deep. Like we do holistic, not only just holistic in the natural sense, but the whole person holistic work where we are rebalancing. And a lot of times it's really just learning a lot of social skills from being able to, and that's where I think our first conversation, we had a conversation about how AI can be helpful with social anxiety and helping. I think at the time we were talking about like the controversy of whether AI could be considered cheating if like someone was, you know, having a more emotional, intimate relationship with AI or something like that. But it also can be used to normalize conversations for people who don't have a lot of exposure to social situations, and then they also cope with alcohol or they cope with drugs. And you know, it's yeah, as Corey said, it's very deep but it's also, it's not that scary. At least I try not to make it that scary. The scariest part is actually just starting. That's pretty much getting
No,
it.
that's what's interesting. I picked up on it, right? And I see this a lot. right? Being in the tech world, where some people will get that anxiety from any type of tech, right? Anytime you get something you don't know, you're like, which that could maybe set off other triggers. To Corey's point, right? For some previous trauma that existed that maybe you didn't know existed. But good point. I wasn't, that kind of shocked me. So I'm like, I forgot. I just assume everyone on here is gonna know tech and AI like us. But good point. Even to the point to where maybe we can get something, Corey, offline to get to her to help her with that. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
Well,
do like
actually,
a
I'm already
demonstration too, like of how
well.
Corey
I'm.
you would
It's
ask
funny.
that.
Funny that you said that. I'm building a prompt generation ebook for AI. I got about, I think about 100 prompts so far. My goal to get is to get about 500 prompts. So maybe Sarah, I can work with you on that. I'm building out the mental health part of that because of the fact that nobody thinks about mental health when it comes to technology. They think about the instant gratification, and as we
True,
all know,
true.
who has therapy, mental health is not instant. It's a
Yeah,
process.
Mm.
It's
yeah,
called work, and just like when we sometimes, I mean, like you said, addiction, right? And then now I'm about to tie it into what we're talking about. People use these phones, or just they use the phone, and they don't know that this tool that they have in their hand could actually help them instead of hurting them.
yeah.
Mm.
Like
That's
they
the
pick the
part
phone
about
and
life.
start
Sorry to
scrolling.
interject, but
No,
it's
you're
like
go
the
ahead.
duplicity of it's a double-edged sword with mental health. The same thing that causes a lot of mental health issues is also the solution to recovery from those
Ooh.
things. And I think the conversation about mental health is opening up immensely, and but understand where addiction kind of, I think, has to come forward. And I'm, leaning my brand out there to help people understand, not be scared of what addiction means, because we're all addicted to something. It's not just one thing, but as understanding like just information that, like you were saying, the immediate gratification of having something that you want an answer, you can get it at the fastest rate possible than ever before. But it also, AI, like technology, can help you. I actually changed and transformed my own mental health by learning from social media, but social media does mess with my head a lot too. So that's why I sit on the side of mental health where I'm recovery based. A lot of people are still trying to
Huh.
understand diagnostics and getting started in it. But there's like therapy is, it is a lot of recovery, but my recovery standpoint comes a lot from my background working with people overcoming addiction.
Mm.
And at this point, it can't discriminate between mental health recovery and addiction recovery. There's no difference. They
Right.
both
Yeah.
exist concurrently.
Geronimo, have you heard of the DCM? I know you have, Sarah. Is
The what?
the
DCM.
it's a maybe it's not the DCM.
The
It's a
DSM?
DSM. There it
Yeah.
goes. That
Hmm.
thick book that diagnose.
Yep.
It has, yeah. The reason why I know
Diagnostic
about it,
Statistical Manual of Mental Health and Psychiatric Disorders.
Now
there you
say
go.
that 5 times fast.
Yeah. Side note, we have a question. What do you by Signs by Stu? What do you think about AI replacing or creating an alternate life for someone? I have seen some businesses offer to clone or make an AI chatbot of a deceased loved one or a girlfriend lover.
I'd
That's
say there's
deep.
definitely an
That's a
intervention
very
of
deep
grief.
question.
But I would say, I mean, to each his own. I'm not one to tell a person how to live their life, but I am going to teach you like the perspective, which is why my business is perspective counseling. There's a whole other side when we lose someone, because a lot of addiction is just understanding loss and your relationship with loss and grieving. Um, that is a lot of the trauma work that I do. And so someone creating a business and offering to clone, a lot of that is part of the problem. Is that's consumerism and capitalism at its finest. That's a little opinionated, but
Mm.
is that someone is trying to capitalize off of your suffering.
Yeah,
Right.
I definitely see that. And then I'm wondering how would that impact the ability of someone learning how to let go? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because
Yeah.
then, like, I felt like you're kind of enabling you
Yeah.
not being able to let go. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then how can someone move on with their life? That's Ooh, that's the tricky one.
Well, that's the thing, is they're living in the reality where their life doesn't necessarily have to go anywhere. And this is kind of it's not the same discussion, but very close to, I think, just the conversation about like video games and like can't even say AI, but like just that, people who stay inside a lot and play video games. That social engagement is, there's I mean this with the utmost hopefulness for anyone but not everyone is going to change. And you have to make that choice to be able to say, hey, I'm not going to delay living my life, that if this person is really gone, and I will but you don't even need AI to do this, but if they got an actual clone, I think they did a Black Mirror episode on this as well, is that
they did on Law and Order, I know for sure.
Yeah, so you're creating your own reality, but you're also using something outside of yourself, where we already create our own reality. That is mental health a lot of the time. So if to me, I just can turn opinionated very quickly, which is I'm not a therapist in this. Okay. I am a therapist, but I'm not responding as a therapist.
That's why it's called Technically Speaking.
There you go.
Oh, like you're overcompensating. You are using more energy, more money, more time in resisting the process of grieving and healing by attaching to an inanimate object.
Right.
Is that the same as like kind of self-medicating, like how sometimes people would deal with certain issues by maybe too much alcohol, or recreational drugs?
There's people, I can't say my own clients, but I've heard of like my other colleagues' clients that, they keep shrines to loved ones. Now there's a fine line between, what holding on and in an unhealthy way is to like a natural process of grieving. You're allowed to have mementos, you're allowed to have things, but you really got to look at like, okay, what is your life? How is development going? If you are not, like mentally and emotionally growing past this, then it's going to have consequence in your life. You're going to start seeing consequences in your finances, in your social, in your familial world. And that's what really starts to create the mental health issues that we have just systemically in this type of situation.
Hey, that was a good question, Stu. By the way, Stu, he's our next guest. So for next week. So thanks for showing that love. That's what's up. That was a really good question. You know what? So I want to add to that, right? So I follow Darren Hardy. Been following Darren Hardy for a long time for personal development and growth. And he just recently put out a program where he reintroduced a program I took a long time ago called Insanity, which teaches you basically how to focus and get stuff done and be more productive, right? But he's introducing in this next round of the training where he trained the model on the lesson to where it can essentially kind of augment him, right? Like it's an augmented instructor that's been trained on the whole curriculum that when he broke it down, you can essentially interact with that AI bot, basically his clone, right? In place of actually dealing with him. What do you think about, using kind of what Stu talked about, but in that scenario, more in a business class environment?
Yeah, no, that was a great question by Stu as well. And that's the other side of where this can actually be helpful. And we had talked about this in our first discussion, Geronimo, of like where someone cloning myself in some regard can help access. There's a huge backlog with therapist availability. And not that I'm supposed to be everyone's therapist, but, I'm pretty cool or relatable. But, I'm good at what I do, but I'm not for everyone. My person, there has to be that sit there. But a clone in that regard can help immensely. Where I do know, I can't remember, I still have not looked up the actual agency, but I was at a networking event and I met an agency that was started using AI to help with social exposure training. So having I wouldn't necessarily say a clone, but what's the Sims? Like, what's that term?
Like a simulator?
Virtual,
simulator.
Thank you. The Sims.
I like digital phone.
But a virtual reality that you're talking with another person, but you're also practicing exposure therapy and helping overcome trauma. This is probably being mostly researched too with veterans as well and trying to treat PTSD. as well in combination with medication therapy, while also doing a behavioral therapy as well. And just for good measure, I'm just going to put out there that medication therapy is very different than regular therapy, and they're designed to work together,
Right.
Okay.
not just separately.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. Yeah. I know of people who take medicine to calm themselves down, and then also and it's not marijuana. It's not
right.
the
It's not
medicine in the air.
self-medication.
It's not that type, and it's not the kind that's prescribed. Oh, what is it called? Medicinal. No, it's sometimes it could be a pill or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
but it's not always something that you have to be a prolonged situation either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's communities out there that once you get on something like a medication, it's like, oh, this makes me feel good. I run to it. It's like a codependent,
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that you don't want to overdo because then you're dealing with another problem.
And
Yeah.
that's
When you
a
solve
lot.
one problem, you create another one.
Yeah, and I will just to kind of clear this, codependency is a pretty intricate concept, because that's ultimately what I help people recover from with addictions, is rebalancing and understanding what codependency means, because it's not all bad. Because if we eliminated codependency, then we wouldn't be social creatures, we would not be human beings.
Correct.
But there are some imbalances when it comes to the different areas of codependency. And also, it has everything to do with just what it is that you're codependent with. Some things are less harmful than others. Being codependent on heroin is a little bit less harmful than being codependent with your work.
Yes.
So, but it's still the brain. So that's why I really try to help people understand with my course, is trying to understand how your system works. The information they didn't really quite put all together for us in school, but hopefully now it can, and in adult world, it will make sense, because you have to have some lived experience before you actually, well, one, you got to have lived experience to go to therapy, because other than that, it's just not going to make any sense.
Good point.
Like, so that's why I like where, Corey, you said you took a break, because that tells me you had a therapist that was, moved away, but hopefully mindful, is that like going to therapy for your whole life, nonstop, something is off.
Yeah.
Something's not working. Therapist is not doing their job, or you're not telling the truth. One or the other, or both.
Hey, that's powerful for a therapist to say that. That's your bread and butter.
Yeah, I'm like, if I've got some clients everyone's on their own timeline, but if they're generally not improving, that does not mean that they're not going to be depressed ever again. It means that they're making life and leaning forward into their life and making changes the way that makes sense for them. Then yeah, taking a break is very normal. You have to go sometimes live life and make mistakes, and then to be able to learn from them, but also while simultaneously not, criticizing and shaming yourself for the mistakes that you make.
Yeah.
But if I'm holding on to a client because, summer is notoriously a time where our sessions drop off. If you're in private practice and you're not prepared for that, that is not your client's fault. That is yours.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. I mean, because,
you know what? Go ahead, Corey.
Because you got to look at it like their life as well. You know what I'm saying? They have things that they want to do, and they will be like, okay, well, I do, because I know I was guilty of it even up to the last week. I told my therapist, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break next week because of the fact that my kids are getting out of school, and I'll get back on probably in 2 weeks. And she was like, that's fine. I set the parameters up with her a while back, but then I was like, you know what, let me just go back to next week, because when you're in therapy, you start developing and realizing like, oh, these are triggers, and I'm like, yeah, wait a minute, hold on, I need to address this. And I'm like, so I'm doing other rediscovering, and by doing the rediscovering, I realized, like, let me go ahead and fix this problem. But I also realized that my therapist has a life too. They have a family as well, and they got other clients.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
emotional object permanence gets the best of you, the clients. And even me too. I am a client myself.
Right.
So.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
So yeah, it's
Shout out to everyone on Instagram that joined us.
Yeah, shout out Instagram. But yeah, definitely mental health. Definitely, you need to have a break so you can be able to apply the tools that you learn.
Hmm.
Because we can, I mean, if somebody giving you tools, but you still seeing them every week, and that means like you're not exercising those tools like you
Good point.
should
Good
if
point.
you're not seeing growth after a time period. And that's one of the things I love about my therapist. Like one of them, I have two. One of them I see once a month, and the other I see every other week. And because it's two different things. One is strictly for me, and the other one is for me and my wife, because we want to
Okay.
make sure that we're doing the best job with our children and our communication. And not only that, discovering ourselves as a couple. I've been married for 19. It'll be 19
Oh,
years
my
come
man.
August.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
congrats.
you.
Be like you when
Thank
I
you.
grow up.
Uh, bruh. You know what I'm
19's
saying?
my favorite number, so good luck.
Thank
Hey,
you. Thank you.
nice.
But the thing about it is, this has been year one of us doing marriage therapy. You know what I'm saying? And the reason being, it's not because of anything wrong. It's the fact that we want to make sure that we have the tools, because we're raising these babies, and we don't want to take our past aggressions out on something that with them. And not to mention as well, we didn't see proper marriages growing up.
Yeah.
So we see that there's a disconnect growing from where we are. So let's go ahead and get this fix a issue, because before it becomes an issue right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah. No, if I could, because I know we're kind of like winding down because of time and stuff, but I just want to say one thing about therapy is not because something's wrong. Most people enter therapy because
Mm.
they think there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. There may be some things that you might have to change and reorganize, but I love what you're saying, Corey, is because you're more in like a preventative place now. At
Ooh.
you're being proactive, and the unfortunate part about the country that we live in, I'll just keep it here because I ain't got no business talking about anyone else other than Americans, but is that we have becoming from a reactive place, a place of reaction. We don't address something until it pops off. And that is a culture that I'm trying to change within even just my individual therapy, but then also my group therapy that I do. Is you can still be reactive and preventative at the same time. And because it's really all about practice, once you start looking past the surface level of yourself, everything you have a relationship with yourself that is an unbreakable bond, hopefully moving forward. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that there's a whole lot of you that you just need to get to know,
Yeah.
because you're not stopped from the grind mode and from survival mode and just what your parents have taught you to have that time for yourself. But it's really just, there's nothing wrong.
Nice. No, that good point. Good point. And we are wrapping it up. So these last 5 minutes to close this out, right? When it comes to AI and mental health, Sarah, what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Well, nothing really keeps me up at night because I practice very good sleep hygiene as part of my mental health. But when I really think about that, I think what makes me worried the most is people's fear of AI. I just got done doing a conference, shout out to Creativeverse, where it's a community of people like creative designers who are building businesses using AI. And, one of the hottest topics is like being fearful of AI. To me, that is a very natural response, but you also have to understand what happens when you activate fear and what it does to just long-term stress. Everyone has a different starting point, but what it also tells me is that that person does not have a trust with themselves to be able to move forward. I'm not saying you don't trust anything parties. I'm just saying that the fear response and being fearful of AI is what I worry about, because that is what's going to leave people behind in this AI revolution and really hurt people from just an entrepreneurial and a capitalist perspective. I'm not demonizing capitalism. It does cause a lot of the problems with mental health in this country, but it's also a really great concept because we help other countries grow based off of our economy. It's just gotten out of control and unregulated. But my point being is that what keeps me up night is people's fear and them not realizing just what kind of impact that has on them physically, emotionally, and mentally.
That was good. You know what? We got to keep this going. I think we're gonna need a part 3.
We're gonna need a part. I like to do things in 3, so
yeah. Work our way up to 19.
Yep, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
That's what's up. No, thank you. The good point. You know what? And that's a good note to sign off at. Because we kind of talked about that too last time. Was that fear, right? And I'm seeing it too. But I was wondering. Actually, that was a question I was gonna ask you about. Was that fear? But I would definitely support what you said and just get past that fear. Don't let that hold you back, right? Because I don't want anyone getting left behind. The world is changing. It's changed already, right? And it's gonna continue to change. So I would encourage you to maybe get past that fear. Definitely use the link that we have right here in the video. Get in contact with Sarah if you need some help. Getting past that fear. Actually, I would like to encourage that. Use the link. Hit her up if you don't even know where to start as far as getting past that fear of AI and where we're going with it. Because if for all my parents on here, right? If you got kids, they're looking up to you and they need you to kind of figure it out, right? To help them figure it out. So that's awesome, Sarah. I appreciate it. Thank you. I know Corey had to jump off. Everyone on Instagram that joined in, YouTube, Facebook, thank you. We're gonna
make sure you subscribe so we can notify you the next time we talk about it. Sorry to interrupt you.
Hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons. And where else can people get in contact with you? Plug those socials.
So I'm on Instagram as Right Size Perspective and Perspective Counseling. I have my own YouTube. I go live every Friday and talk about principles of mental health recovery. That is Perspective Counseling, or you can really just Google me. Like I said, everything is linked to my website. You can follow me on all my socials there. I also do have an app, and I am launching my course soon. So if therapy is like, it's a different type of therapy, but it's doing more of a self-guided, like self-discovery program that I'm going to be releasing soon.
Nice. Awesome. And then again, anyone on YouTube I'll get all that stuff put in the description below. Other than that, thanks again, everyone. Be safe out there and don't let fear drive you. Y'all have a good night.